Welcome everyone to today's episode of Success Patterns Show. I am super honored and excited to be here with one of my favorite people. And you know, you hear people say that a lot. Oh, you're my favorite person. And oh my gosh, I love you so much. This German girl does not say that unless it is, I really mean it. And I truly mean it with this lady who I've met, gosh, I want to say, what, 10 years ago, 8 years ago, something like that. 8-ish years ago. Feels like I've known her forever. And we had a rough start meeting. Well, she had a rough start meeting me. That's a story for a different time. And then she just continued to show up and I just couldn't shake her, right? And I loved it. She's a dog with a bone. This lady, let me tell you, she's going to share her contact information at the end of this show. You want to connect with her. You want to be in her circles. You want to learn from her. You want to be around her. Her name is Jeanne Zierhoffer. She's got a great German last name. I love it. I actually know how to spell it and pronounce it. Jeanne has created over the years an incredible tool belt system, and I'll let her talk about that as well. Oh, I see Christian being on now. Okay, so he made it fantastic. She's created an incredible tool belt system because what she's found is that people go, you know, to all of these seminars and workshops and courses and classes, and then they come home and they don't do anything, right? And it's literally taking money and just throwing it out the window. And Jeanne has created an incredible program and is leading her followers through her own program because she's a product of her own program. And that's why she's here. And that's why we talk about success patterns today. So welcome, Jeanne Zierhoffer. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Miss Brigitta Hoeferle. That's my favorite line to say.
Jeanne, tool belt system. And Jeanne Zierhoffer, two great things, and they work so well together. And you just became a grandma too.
I did.
And you're about to move too.
Yes.
There's a lot going on in your life right now.
There is, and it is all wonderful. And you know, remember, if you ever watched the gymnasts, right? The gymnasts, and they're on that balance beam. That's life to me. Oh, I'm going to fall off. I'm going to get back on. You know, I'm going to jump off. Oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to try a somersault. Oh, didn't work out. Oh, let me try it again. Oh, look it. I nailed it. It's the balance beam. It's balancing that life, that work, that let me go play.
Yeah.
Mode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And amongst all of that, that's what I wanted to say. Amongst all of that, you have a wonderful smile on your face. You do, you know, you take it, you juggle it if it needs to be juggled while you're balancing on that beam and you're, you know, trying to hold your balance, or you are holding your balance, or maybe you're, you know, slipping off and you're getting back on. What I'm hearing is one of the success laws, and that is that there is no failure, right? If you fall off, fantastic. Get back on. Tell me about the tool belt system. What made you create it, and how does it work for you and your clients?
All right. So I was literally poking my eyeballs out.
Well, they're still there.
I know. Now I have glasses, so it's a safety feature. I really got into personal development, professional development to better myself. However, I made an agreement with myself back in 2010 or 12 or whatever it was, right? And I said, okay, if I'm going to invest in myself and put this kind of money in there, because I invested some big chunks of money into myself, it's an investment. And I said, I will implement 3 to 5 things, depending on how big they were, you know, how big they were to chew off, 3 to 5 things into my personal and professional life before I invest into the next one. And the first question I will ask the trainers of the training is, may I repeat this? Because I'll take 3 to 5 chunks, I'll implement it, and then I'll come back and maybe take a few more chunks out. And sometimes I repeat it, and I'm okay with that because I hear other people's perspective and I go, I haven't thought about that. Because there's so much genius with the way somebody else interprets information versus me. So
That all in itself is a huge nugget right there. That's huge. If we could just bottle that insight and sell it, Jeannie, you'll be good. You'll be great. But that's really genius what you just said.
As I move forward, and you've heard me say this, I'm implementing this, and then I'm going to take this. And that agreement I have stuck with, it's 2021. I have stuck with that agreement to myself and implemented. And as I was watching other people that were sitting in classrooms next to me, and they were signing up for the next training and the next training and the next training, which is great. However, they're stuck in the learning mode and they're missing that implementation. And then when I just, have casual conversations, coffee or whatever, I could hear they were totally stuck and had no idea how to chunk it down and implement it to chunk it up and chunk it down and chunk it up and to get it into their business. So they would just throw it on the shelf and start the next training, throw it on the shelf, start the next training. And I'm like, holy cow, like, great, you're investing in yourself, but are you really? Like, you're not using it. So what?
And it's not an investment anymore.
No, it's just, it's that, I'm going to use an analogy. It's that first high for a drug addict. They chase that for the rest of their drug addiction until they get sober and clean. But it's the same thing. They're looking for that,
they're looking for that next hit. They're looking for that next high, as you said.
Yeah, or the magic pill. And the magic pill is, there isn't one.
Thank you. But there is one. There isn't one, but there is one. It's the implementation piece that you just said.
Yeah.
You mentioned something that I don't hear a whole lot of people mention, and that is you made an agreement with yourself. Now I know working, with you and your group of people, you're great at making agreements. For what purpose?
Agreements create a safe container for everybody. So when we're in that safe container, you can say anything you want. Nobody's going to steal your idea. Nobody's going to take your customer, and nobody's going to judge you, most importantly. Human beings hit walls. And we have life things, whatever the case may be, but we got a lot of emotions. And I like to create a safe place for people to be okay with going, I don't even know what to do next. My head is spinning. And my favorite thing is when I see somebody in total chaos. You've seen me a couple of weeks ago in a class, like in total chaos, because I know that chaos is going to create clarity.
Yes, and do if you want to, there was chaos and there was also resistance. And then out of that came what?
Huge clarity.
Huge. I witnessed it. It was humongous. And it was so huge that it didn't just benefit you, that actually the people that you work with immediately, because you implement it and because you have that agreement, not just with the people that you work with, but you have that agreement with yourself. You're eating your own cooking. You have that agreement with yourself. And therefore you were able to immediately implement it and assist the people that you work with. When I heard that, that was the biggest celebration of the day, of the week.
Yeah. And it really is about eating your own cooking, right? And you know, we were in a training, and I don't carry a dictionary, Christian. I know you're listening, and so I stick with my simple vocabulary, and comes out of that is I am just a meat and potatoes consultant. I just keep it really simple, and then I'll help you add your own spices, and I'll help
Love,
you.
oh, I love the spices. I love that. Because there's nothing wrong with meat and potato. I love meat and potatoes. I grew up in Germany. That's, that and Spätzle were good. That and noodles were good. Meat and potatoes and noodles. Maybe a little bit of lettuce on the side. But you can use all sorts of, you're right, spices and other things that condiment it. Were you always like that? Have you always been so successful and made agreements with yourself and, were that driven? Because you come across as a very driven, very, you're either going to run with me or you get the frick out of the way kind of person. Have you always been that way?
Nope. I was the back of the room kind of girl that wouldn't even hold a microphone, wouldn't raise her hand, hid in the back. Nobody saw me. I was completely invisible. And I was okay with that, because that's just let me sit over here, no problem. And I met you, and I'm going to go into it real quick. I met Brigitta, and she was on stage. She was an assistant trainer, and I said, well, I don't want to be a trainer, but I want to learn what they're learning so I can be better on the phone. That was my whole purpose for that trainer. If I can learn this, I can be better on the phone talking to customers and clients. And I saw her up there, and I thought, well, I like her style. I want to do what she does. And then I had a conversation with her and went, I don't like that woman. I want no part of that woman. I don't want to be like that. And it wasn't that I want to be like you, but I liked the energy and that you were training and teaching people. And that's what I gravitated towards.
Yeah.
And until I went over and asked her a question, and she literally ripped my face off, threw it on the floor, and stepped on it. But that's a story for another day, as she said. It was quite funny. And here we are.
And here we are. Clearly, she forgave me. Thank God. I'm so glad. And a really nice, great friendship came out of it. And I'm so grateful that you are a very nurturing and forgiving person, because other people would have been like, no, screw her, right? I would have probably been someone like that back in the days. Now I've learned a lot over the years. And that's another thing. You proclaimed at one point and put it out there in the ether that you're a leader of leaders, and leaders do whatever it takes, right? Over, under, around, and through, whatever it takes, I will do. Leaders will do whatever it takes, not to bulldoze over other people, but to learn. And you have a great saying. Will you share it with others, what your credo is of life?
What my credo is in life.
So each one,
reach one, teach one.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Well, it's the ripple effect.
And then out of that, with the tool belt system, you are creating that learn, do, teach, right? You're learning it, you're implementing it, you're doing it, and then you're teaching it to your clients, to your customers.
Okay, let's be frank. How many, not frank literally, how many people do we see out there that learn something and go right to teaching it? And they're missing that whole implementation step. So other people are going, I don't get it, I don't get it, I don't get it. Because the trainer or teacher, and that doesn't make them bad or good, it just is, they're missing that step. So it's very difficult for them to train. They can say, well, blah, 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 and teach it over here. However, the success and the results will be shown or not.
So as you're implementing, you're coming to a place of mastery because you're doing it. You're going through it. I mean, no one has learned to drive a car just by simply going to school and then teaching it to others so they can drive a car. That's unheard of. I remember I think the car analogy really rings true, and it just hit me. But I remember in school, I went to social pedagogy school, and it's education science, and we had to learn about childbearing and education and all sorts of things. And one of my teachers, she was like ancient, I was 18, 19 at the time, and she must have been, I don't know, 65 or so. She was not married, has never been married, never had children, and taught us in a very theoretical way about raising children and educating children. And I just couldn't take her serious. I'm like, what the hell do you know? Everything that you know, you only know from books. I cannot take you serious, woman. And although I'm very passionate, if you know me, I'm very passionate about children and raising children, I hated her class, hated it, because I couldn't accept what she was saying, because it didn't come from experience.
Yeah. Big difference. There really is a big difference.
Yeah. So you already mentioned success on a few occasions. What does success mean to you, Jeannie?
Success for me is helping other people get their successes.
Mm.
And, I look at modeling. All right. Modeling other people that are doing what I want to do, or that teach in a certain way that I like to teach. So you, Christian, John Kurth, Mimi Lamley. I mean, the list goes on of mentors and coaches that I look up to for the main reason, and it's integrity and ethics. There's a lot of people out there. However, I gravitate towards integrity and ethics. However, I do go listen to the other speakers, so I learn what not to do.
That's a good one. That's a good piece. And we know a few of those. We're not going to name them by name, but we know a few of those. So expert modeling, and in return, because you're applying it, you are doing what you have, what other people are modeling for you. And by teaching it to others, you're modeling it for them. So it's a perpetual, there's a if that's a word, a perpetuation, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah, it is now. Exactly. I'm really good at making up. Christian's probably listening to me and going, oh my gosh, what is the woman saying? Right. But it's a continuation. It's ongoing. It keeps on giving, and you make sure that it keeps on giving by you pouring into your clients and the people that you work with. And I've had the privilege to be on many of your calls with your group of people, and they're incredible people, and they learn so much from you, and that makes me proud, because it's a continuation of what I'm teaching, and it's a continuation of what you're teaching, right?
Yeah. Except for, here's the thing that somebody may be listening going, well, I don't get it. Why is she mimicking Brigitta? I don't mimic Brigitta. I take what she teaches and how she teaches this, and her integrity and her ethics, and then I make it my own.
Yeah. It is all about expert modeling and then making it your own. I'll tell you guys a really funny story. I told it to Anna in the car earlier. We were on vacation last week, and we were sitting on the side of the road, just kind of, watching life pass us. It was a small little island, and there's this little dog. He was, maybe, I don't know, he wasn't a puppy anymore, but he wasn't a big dog either. And he was coming up the street and just running up the street. And as he's running, I'm seeing that he's running really funny. And I'm thinking, I'm kind of feeling sorry for the dog, and he's running funny. And I'm thinking maybe he's injured his back legs. And then he stopped running and he started walking, and I watch him, and he's walking perfectly normal. And I'm like, and then he started running again. And then it dawned on me as I started him watching to run again, because in this island that we were in, Puerto Rico, there are wild horses everywhere. Like, you turn the corner and there's a wild horse in the middle of the road with its, colt and another horse over there. There are horses like everywhere. The island has like 9,500 people, and I'm pretty sure there's double the horses on that island, at least. So as I'm watching the dog run, I'm going, oh my gosh, the dog is galloping, because it probably grew up only around horses, And that's what he learned. And that's how we are.
That's amazing.
We're only as good as the people that we model from, right?
Yeah.
So I thought that was a really cool analogy as I was watching that dog. And I thought, man, if we don't have the right role models, we don't even know any better. The dog doesn't know that it can run differently. It just knows how to gallop.
Yeah.
So
I love that.
Isn't that cool? I should have taken a video. I didn't have my phone with me. And that was by design. Success patterns, Jeanne, looking back over your, many years now and the journey that you've been on, what would be a reoccurring success pattern that you say, this really works for me, and that is actually something that I'm modeling to others? Uh-oh, just pulling something out.
This only weighs as much as you decide. I have a lot of people say that thing didn't work for me, or that this didn't work for me. And I said, oh, that's too bad. Tell me more. The famous line, Brigitta, that I learned from you, tell me more. And then I'll say, well, how many phone calls did you make? Oh, well, I didn't make phone calls. I was Facebook or like whatever they were trying to do. You are only going to be successful, if I can say it, when you learn to pick up the phone and literally make phone calls and talk to people.
Talk to people, like literally open your mouth and build a relationship with people.
Yeah.
And be and I hear you say often, and be unattached to the outcome. Have an outcome in mind, but be unattached at the same time.
How can you help them? Go in with the attitude of how you can help them, and who do they know, and who do you know, and how can you help each other? And there's no lack, there's no scarcity.
Yeah, there's only abundance.
Yeah.
And when you come from that mindset, because you have heard me often say it, thoughts lead to feelings, feelings lead to actions, actions lead to results. It starts with here. And you're right, Jeanne. I decide how heavy this thing is. Boom. That was it. That was the biggest nugget of them all. Jeanne, how do people get in touch with you?
If they have a paintbrush or a caulking gun or a hammer to come help me finish my house that's under construction, and we need to have a whole call about how that happened with vision boards.
Funny story right there.
That may be an unsuccess pattern. However, we learned from those things. I can be reached. I love to be texted. Text messaging is great for me. 978-337-2547. I am the only Jeanne Zierhoffer in this country. So jump on LinkedIn, network and connect with me on LinkedIn, and let's collaborate and see what big things we can grow together.
Yeah. And of course, here on Be Connected too. So Jeanne, Jeanne, Jeanne Zierhoffer, Z as in zebra, Ierhoffer, Zierhoffer. I mean, you literally, spell it like you pronounce it. It's very easy, I think.
Yeah, for you.
Tell the listeners and viewers again your telephone number where they can text you.
978-337-2547.
I'll also put it in the show notes. Jeanne, thank you so much for taking the time to be here and share your nuggets with us. You're absolutely phenomenal, amazing. Thank you for being here. Lots of love to you for spreading the great news and having the tool belt system in place. Thank you guys for watching. I will post the recording here very soon that you can also share with whoever needs to hear this message. Thank you. Bye, everyone. Ciao. Thank you.